If you've spent decades building up a business and you're really proud of what you've built, and now as you're sitting here thinking about your next career, your next venture, or retirement, you're realizing, oh my God, no one will take over this business. No one can take over this business. It's not your fault. What has happened to you is that you've built a business that is actually just a job. And it's a job that probably doesn't pay as much as it should, requires more stress than your doctor would like to know about, and is something that other people either aren't qualified or willing to do on your behalf. And by itself, when you're running the business, that's not a problem. But as you're thinking about the next chapter, it is definitely a problem, but a problem we can solve. Having worked with thousands of small businesses to systemize their operations, I can tell you there are really just 3 changes to your habits that need to happen in order to transition from having a job to having a business. Rest assured, you're not doomed. It's fixable. But it all starts with recognizing that you actually want to change, that you actually want to go from having a job that nobody else wants to take over to having a business that is sellable and a job that someone else is willing to step into. Now, at this point, you probably want me to dig into the 3 specific tactics, and don't worry, I'm going to get there. But the fact is, none of those tactics actually matter if you don't get this first part right. And to understand this first part, I got a little story to tell you. Once upon a time, there was a small business that ran a successful restaurant supply company, making a few million a year, a few dozen employees. By all accounts, a successful, thriving small mom and pop business. There was only one problem. Mom and pop, well, they weren't going to be around forever. And as time went on and on and on, mom and pop started looking for a way out of the business. And like many mom and pop businesses, where did they look? Well, they looked to the next generation. They looked at the kids. Hey, our daughter. Maybe our daughter will take over this business. Perfect. Susie, get ready. This is going to be your big day. This business will soon be yours. Here she was in her early 20s, perfectly poised to take over this small business, ready to take over from mom and pop who were nearing retirement at this point. And there was just one problem. There was one secret that mom and pop didn't know about. Susie emailed me. And Susie emailed me not sharing all the wonderful highlights of this mom and pop business. Susie didn't share how great it was to grow up around a family of business owners. No. In this email Susie sent me, a stranger she knows from the internet, she said, I would love to take over this business, but not like it is today. She's not going to do it. You see, what mom and pop didn't realize is Susie saw the business for all that it was. She saw the business and the job. And the job description that mom and pop had outlined for her was not something that she wanted to have. She saw long hours. She saw low compensation. She saw less than 5 days of paid time off a year. What she saw was working every holiday, missing kids' pickup and track meets and swim meets in order to meet with clients. She saw stress, anxiety, insecurity, uncertainty, risk. She saw it all. And no matter how much Susie loved business, she loved this business, and she loved her parents, there's no way she was going to give up her future for that job. And that was the problem. Now, in the spirit of transparency, Susie's story is a little fictionalized, but I hear the same message from people like Susie every single month. It's also my own backstory. The reason I started ProcessDriven instead of taking over my parents' small business is for the exact reasons we outlined here. Sorry, I'm interrupting me to remind you that if you're enjoying this video, please do like, subscribe, and share this with a friend. It makes a huge difference for the channel, and I would really appreciate it. Thanks so much. Back to the video. All right, so to state the obvious here, I am super passionate about this question, this topic of how we transition from a job to a business, so much so that I've spent the last 7 years working with thousands of businesses, yes, actually thousands, to go through this transition in some way, shape, or form. What I've come to realize is that if we want to make this adjustment, what we need to do together is go through 3 steps and 3 habits that we're going to build both for today and the future. And I'll go through them all here, but if you want to dive deeper into this whole strategy, check out the links in the description. I've got free resources on all of these steps because I don't have time to get into them. That would be an entire YouTube channel, which again, I have in the description. All right. So anyway, the very first step we need to do is figure out our reality. Essentially, if we want to change anything, we need to figure out where we're starting from. So when it comes to systemizing your business and establishing a better job, we need to understand what your current job is. And that's quite challenging as a business owner. Quick example, I have dogs. My house smells like dogs. People who don't have dogs come to my house and they're like, ew, your house smells like dogs. And I can't smell it. I'm around it too much. I'm just immune at this point to dog hair everywhere and dog smells everywhere. Your business is like a dog smell. You get what I'm saying? And so in order to help you understand your reality, I have created a free tool. Again, I told you, I've got a whole bunch of free stuff to help with this. It's called the Systemization Snapshot. It's free in the description below. But what it does is it allows you to evaluate, measure how systemized your business is today. It asks you things like how you prepare for time off, how many mistakes you handle in a period, whether you use SOPs or not, a bunch of very simple yes or no questions, and it's okay if you don't know the answers to all of them, but it gives you an assessment. Have you ever started a workout plan and they do that body scan where they tell you like, here's how strong you are and here's where you need to lose weight and all that stuff? This is essentially that, but for your business. Because again, you can't smell your own smelly dogs. So that is the first step we need to do. Realize in what way is the job that you have not the most sellable thing. That tool will help you. Now, I've been running this operations audit for quite a while. We have pretty much every industry you can imagine represented, over 150 different countries. And what we've realized from the 4,400 submissions so far is that the baseline for having a well-systemized business is extremely low. If I were to say there was 100 best practices for running a systemized business, I can tell you with confidence that the average small business only does about 25 to 30 of those best practices, which is not great for me as someone in the systemization space. I've got a lot of work to do, but for you as someone trying to build a sellable or scalable business that people will want to acquire, it's actually a great thing. It means the bar for competition is extremely low. Now, I could sit here and say step 2 of systemizing your business is to start going through all of 100 of those things until you have a score of 100%. I do that with my clients inside Foundations, but we don't have time for that here. And frankly, it's not necessary to beat this very low bar we have as small business owners. All you need to do in the second step to get up to a good baseline is to start defining the actions that happen in your business. That's it. Okay? Now, you might start rolling your eyes at this one. This might sound too simple or too theoretical. Promise you, it is not. This is the single thing you can do for your business that will help Susie and help you build a job Susie would want to take over. All we need to do here is record the actions we are taking in our business. That's it. Now, when it comes to recording what your business actually does, there's a lot of details we could potentially be talking about. We could have what, who, where, when, why, and how, all of these things that we need to capture. And I do have whole other videos talking about the details of capturing all of this stuff if you want to get to that 100% mark. But for today, all we need to focus on is what is happening in our business. What are the outcomes we are achieving? Who is doing those things and when, at what frequency. Little things that you might not even think of, like every Monday you send your invoices. Every second Tuesday of the month you attend the local networking session. Every 15th of April, you pay your taxes. Every little thing that you or your team does, if you can get that written down, oh my goodness, if you do nothing else to ease the transition to Susie or to make your business more acquirable, do this one thing. You will allow yourself to be able to anticipate what needs to happen if you were to take time off. And I can go on and on about the power of this first step. I have a whole other video on it up here because I have gone on and on it. But that is going to be your second step of the puzzle. And here's where I'm going to get a little bit cheeky and maybe push some of you out of your comfort zone. But I would really recommend this particular step, this defining of what, who, and when is done on a piece of technology, in software, okay? Spreadsheets, okay, but I would really prefer you use an actual task management tool, something like ClickUp, SmartSuite, Notion. I'll put links to all these in the description. I have a whole video comparing them up here. They all have free plans, right? Get on a free plan, put these things in there because trust me, you are going to have dozens, if not hundreds, of these little tiny things you do once you start writing them down. And unlike that piece of paper that you can spill coffee on, this stuff being in a digital format is going to be a lot easier for Susie and for other people down the line. Additionally, if you are someone with a team, the digital route is pretty much non-negotiable because there's no other way you'll be able to get everyone contributing what they do into one spot unless you use some kind of technology. But if you are a technophobe and you don't believe me on that, you can watch this video where I really explain why that software, even on the free plans, is well worth the time invested to learn it. So check that out. Now, once we know how our overall system health is, and we know what we are doing to generate that health, the third step of our puzzle is making it better. And you can do this or Susie can do this, but trust me, if you want to sell your business for a high multiplier, probably best that you do this rather than letting the hedge fund do it. What we are going to do is analyze, look at, think about what you have written down in step 2. Look at the tasks you've outlined and question who should be doing that. Is that really how often that needs to happen? Is that the best way to go about that? Simple things that you might not even realize you're doing, like every Monday you send invoices. Should it be twice a week? Maybe every week you go to a networking event. Should you stop going to that because it doesn't really give you any clients? Maybe every year you pay your taxes and there's always a big surprise. Maybe you could start doing that every 6 months. Between what you do, how frequent you do it, and who is actually doing it, you've got 3 levers you can pull in this third stage to fundamentally change your business. Now, if you've got blue collar roots like I do, this final step is probably going to feel a little hoity-toity. You're going to be like, oh, okay, I got to be a consultant and go analyze my workflows. It sounds like a bunch of bullshit. But the beautiful thing is, this third step is going to happen whether you try or not. Yeah, you're going to start thinking, why do I do it that way? Why do I do that instead of my assistant? Why don't I hire for that? This step 3 of improvement is the natural progression for anyone's brain, especially someone who's been in business as long as you have. So don't worry about this step being an extra effort or some kind of magical science. It's really just going to be you listening to your own brain because you know your business better than anyone else. And I assure you, you would not be in the position you are right now if you could not handle this third step. Trust me, it'll be a lot easier and actually a lot more fun than you think. This final step is why I call process internal branding, because it's really creative actually as you start thinking about the different ways you can make these little parts of your business run to build a better job and a better business that you can then sell and scale. But here's where it gets a little tricky. When you start improving things, what you're going to find is that you're kind of on this hamster wheel. You're like, wait, I've changed things, I've changed things. Have things gotten better yet? Well, for the longest time, there was really no way to know, are things getting better yet, until you wait and see if Susie or some private equity person is interested in the business again. And that's really not the best measure. That's why we have this free tool for you, so you can go back and check, did my business get stronger or not? When we work with clients, retaking that assessment is one of the number one things we look at to make sure that people are actually systemizing their business versus just tinkering and trying to be a perfectionist. We don't need to go quite that far. Now, whether you're the Susie or you have a Susie in your world, or maybe you're just looking to build a better job for you while you're in that job, I hope you see this video as a starting point, a way to begin the conversation of really fundamentally changing how you approach your work to start designing a business that serves your life, your team's life, and ultimately the path that you have to walk after this chapter has ended. Because while this video is technically marketing for ProcessDriven, it's sharing our research, our free tools, and how I work with businesses to systemize their operations, I'm kind of a bad marketer in the sense that I really don't care if you buy or not. I mean, I do want you to, because I know I can help you more than just DIYing, but if you're in a position where working together is not an option, I'm cool with that. What I really care about and what keeps me up at night is the fact that there is 125,000 people at the time of recording this video who subscribe to this channel. And I would bet that less than 5% of the people who watch these videos are taking any sort of action. At least 95% are just passively consuming, resigning themselves to, this is just how it is. And I get that because I was the Susie. And that That hits me to my core. That's why I started this business, because I felt that way. I felt like Susie. No way am I ever going to start a small business and get in that trap. No way am I ever going to get into entrepreneurship, because there's no way that would ever be a job I want to have. And yet here I am, 7, 8 years in, there is a different way. But it all starts with you actually taking action. So please take some kind of action today. Start with step 1. Take an assessment for free of where your business systems are. It's the same one we use with clients. And if you'd like to support this video, this mission, my passion for small business systems, like, subscribe, and share this with a friend. It really means a lot. And until we talk next time, remember to enjoy the process.